As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
BravBros. Good evening, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of BravBros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Shota Magoda.
Shota Magoda?
I was trying to do an accent to mix it up, and then I got stuck on what accent I wanted to do, and that's what you are now.
Yeah,
Shota
but anything
Magoda.
I feel like anything east of the Atlantic Ocean just kind of sounds English for you.
I disagree. People have said that my Brock was better.
Oh my God! Did you see? I saw reports today that apparently Kanye was doing a Mario accent when he was like firing his people.
Like Mario?
Yeah.
Like, it's a me, a Mario.
Yep,
that?
that's the one. Yeah,
Interesting.
yeah. I'd love to hear that. I wish there was film of that one. But yeah, not a lot going on. Finally stopped raining
For now.
for now.
Why'd you have to say that?
You're going to Italy on Sunday. I don't know why this is even an issue.
I am going to Italy on Sunday. I'm super excited. Maybe I'll talk in a Mario voice over there. I'm sure that would go over well.
That would go over well. Yeah.
It's a me, a Steel.
No.
No?
Nope.
Okay.
Definitely not gonna
Well,
do
here's
that.
the good thing. Well, we are here to talk about the Valley, which, wow, what an episode once again. This show, I saw a lot of people saying it. I think a lot of us misjudged it because I was dreading it. I know you were dreading it. I'm not sure you're making a face right now. We might not be on the same page here. But I'm enjoying it. I think that they're delivering in a lot of ways that a lot of the other shows are not.
I didn't realize I was making a face. No, I think we need to calm down. It's not delivering. It's just everybody, I think, now has realized that you need to watch this under the guise of it's not going to be great, but there are very funny moments or very like unserious moments or whatever. It's just
This
raw.
was
It's
super
raw
serious.
entertainment. It is just, yeah, it's very serious. It's been very serious, but we don't like know anybody. And you know what I mean? Like we're not really invested in anybody. Nobody on this show is like, oh, I really love them. They're awesome. Because
I'm
we
not
don't
there
know-
yet. Yeah, that. Well, I take that. I love Nia and
Fell in
Danny.
love that quickly?
They're so sweet together.
Sure.
like
3
she's
episodes
going
in,
away.
though, I don't really
for-
care about them.
bro. They're so like she's going away. He
Sure.
takes the kids without saying a word. He doesn't get a nanny. They like smooch
If
at the
people
door.
went after them, if Jax goes after them, yeah, I'd be upset about that because they're nice people. But like other than that,
I mean,
I don't-
emotionally, you're not
I'm
emotionally,
not emotionally invested in
yet.
any of them. Yeah,
Okay,
it's
that's
3
fair.
episodes in. And look, we've had Dodie before. We've had Jax before. I'm not emotionally invested in either of
I
them.
won't be because well, the thing with them is you're starting to see a lot of what got them in trouble
Yeah.
coming out right now.
Sometimes you bring it up yourself.
We'll get to that, which is like, dude, like, what are you thinking? Like this whole episode, I'm like, what are you doing?
That's the other thing is this whole episode is really just the last 10 minutes.
It was
That's the other
very
thing is-
choppy. The first, like,
It's all over the place. There's a lot of different things going on, and it's okay. And like, yeah, we can get into like Jesse and Michelle's marriage and what the hell's going on there, which I'm always really uncomfortable with because I don't think we should be seeing that. But whatever. Really, everything else was like whatever. And then the last 10 minutes, like, okay, this is good. That's why I'm saying it's not.
okay.
It's not delivering. It's just it's giving us some moments and it's giving us stuff to talk about, which is more than I anticipated, and it's also not a hate watch, which is even better than I anticipated.
Okay, I'll meet you halfway there. I see what you're saying, and I'm definitely not emotionally invested yet.
I don't think you might be.
Well, maybe it's because I was taken aback because I thought I was going to hate it.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to hate watch this whole season, and I was pleasantly surprised. So now I'm trying to gather my thoughts about it, I guess. But I think the point I was trying to make is across the board on socials, we were all talking shit about this show before it aired.
Yeah.
It's like under the guise.
Now it's like even actually before the second episode aired, we saw a trailer and a lot of the pages that were ripping it, us included, were saying, "All right, like, am I really about to be excited to watch this?" And last episode was again, it's fine. It's it's not bad. It's not incredible, but it's pretty good.
So why don't we just get into the Valley and we start out? And this is what I mean. And I don't know if it's lack of content. I don't know, but the beginning of this episode was so weird because they were just jumping back and forth. It's Jax and Brittany talking. You get like a foggy scene of what happened the night before. Then it jumps
I
back.
hated that. I thought that
I
was
did
really
too.
dumb. And yeah, we're used to, especially in shows like this, actually really all shows across Bravo, the way they start each episode is we're going to do about 30 seconds here, and we're going to jump to somebody else, do another 30 seconds, and then we're going to have a full scene. So we're used to that aspect, but starting off with Jax and Brittany walking around, getting some lemonade, and recapping the night before, instead of just showing us, because they did a whole to be continued thing.
Yeah.
When you do to be continued, I fully anticipate watching that scene.
Me too. Continue it.
Yes. Don't show me Jax and Brittany talking about it in their own way, spinning their own little narrative, because they clearly talked about all of this before, and then giving me little snippets. That doesn't make any sense to me, because I want to see Zach blow up. I want to see Dodie drop that bomb. I want to see Michelle's reaction. I want to see everybody's reaction. Instead, we just get like a couple of second-long clips from what happened the night before. So I don't really... The only thing I can think of is maybe it wasn't that great, and it was long and drawn out, and they couldn't edit it all together, so they just kind of did this.
That's still not a great excuse.
No, I know it's not. I don't know why I'm trying to find an excuse for it. It's just dumb.
It got to the point where I almost went back to the last episode. I was like, did I miss like 10 minutes?
Well, that's what happened. Apparently with VPR, they aired another 15 minutes
In
on
the
Peacock.
Peacock, yeah.
We're getting punished now for watching things live.
Which
fuck?
is ridiculous. We're trying to drive them numbies up and we're getting penalized.
Yeah.
I watched this on Peacock
Penalized.
though. Penalized.
I like that.
Instead of, that's how you pronounce it. It's not penalized.
Penalizes just sounds cleaner.
It does. Penalized
Yeah.
sounds gross, but that is the correct vernacular. My point is, we start out with a very jumpy scene, but we get the recap, which we've all seen leading up to this, so we all know what's about to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And that's Dodie says that Janet had said that Michelle is a Republican and probably a racist. And that's what Zach said. So it's this whole like down the line telephone
It's a
tag.
whisper
kind of
down
thing.
the lane, yeah.
Exactly. So we don't really know what happened, and we didn't get to see that whole entire scene play out. So now we're playing the same game. We're like, all right, well, who said what? Who said what to who? Do I believe Dodie? But as soon as she brought this up, all I could think of in my head was like, dude, you got fired for being racist. And now you're going to bring up somebody else being racist. What do you think we're going to focus on now?
Yeah.
This is the easiest thing to clap back at because you have a past.
Yes.
So why would you bring this up? Like, what was her end game? Do you think that she literally just got so in the moment that she was just like, bleh?
Yeah, well, she expanded on it. Like, you didn't even have to do that. And again, we didn't get to see the scene for whatever weird reason. But all Brittany said was, are you not stirring shit up too? And then just kind of lays it out there and says, with Janet, at least from what I understand, that's how it went. And Dodie, for whatever reason, gave her specifics.
Yeah.
You could have just kept your mouth shut. You didn't have to say anything. You could say, I think Zach knows more about that and put the pressure on Zach. I
Ooh.
think someone else knows more about that. Put the pressure on them. Like, stay out of it. If you're Kristen Dodie, you stay the fuck away from this with a 10-foot pole. And yeah, I understand you're like, well, why am I getting crucified? I'm not the one who said it, but you're the one who brought light to it.
Yes.
You're the one who brought it up. And whether or not you were speaking to Kristen behind closed doors or what she says is they were talking like off camera before the season started shooting and that's when it all happened. Whatever you're trying to do is absolutely the wrong move. And she keeps coming back to this. Do you think that I would want to relive what happened with me when I got kicked off EPR? It's like, you're the one who's trying to do that. You're putting yourself back in that crosshair and it's really dumb.
It's really dumb, but at the same time, it's almost like it's necessary because this was probably the biggest underlying thing of Dodie being back on TV.
Yeah.
People wanted answers for this and they wanted her to talk about it, and now it's forcing the issue. What might be a counterpoint to that, or something they're not planning for, is this could take her down.
Again.
Right.
Yeah.
So on one end, like, yeah, it's important to talk about. You can't brush things under the rug, and people want answers to this, so now we're going to talk about it. But I'm curious what route they're going to take with it. Like, are we really going to get into what happened with Kristen? Is she going to have a chance to try to talk her way out of it? Are other people going to get to comment on it on TV? Or are they going to try to steer this away to avoid that conversation, which I would imagine would be the wrong idea. I think you need to address it now that it's out there.
You have to address it now that it's out there. But if you're Kristen, again, you want to stay away from this. And if you anticipate that you're going to have to talk about this at some point and you're going to have to address it because people want answers to that, then do it under your own power. At least you have control over what you're going to say and when you're going to say it. Bringing this up now, whether it was Janet or Zach or whoever that brought it back to Michelle, you shouldn't be involved in any of this because it does immediately reflect back on you and it forces you to talk about your past for those answers that we're all still waiting on. I don't think she's going to talk about it right now, though. I think she's going to freak out. I think she's going to maybe cry, leave, Jesse keeps saying our house. It's not your house. You're just
Not your
listening
house.
Not your house, bro. she's probably going to leave. She's probably going to break down and cry. I don't think she's going to actually address it. It might be a confessional because at least then she can be composed and she's sitting by herself, so it's a little less pressure. Something along those lines I could see, but I don't see her doing it in this group discussion right now because as we already saw, she opens her mouth and whether or not she's apologizing doesn't matter because everybody's just going after her. And that's not a good environment to address those things.
Yeah, I have.
Not that there is a good environment.
No, there's never a good environment to address that.
Yeah, the better environment would have been not doing anything in the first place.
Right. Don't do stupid shit. Don't do racist stuff. And then you won't have to answer for it. But if I had to guess, I would imagine that Jax is going to be the one to bring this up again. And that'll be a forced conversation on TV because that's who Jax Taylor is.
I don't know if Jax is going to do it in this next
Not
episode.
now.
Yeah, no.
I mean, at some
reason, he's
point.
quiet.
I think he's just so like baffled at the whole thing, and also everyone else is jumping in, so he's for once kind of sitting on the sidelines.
See, he's doing watch parties at Jax's every week.
Yeah, I can't wait.
He gets a fucking microphone so that he can comment on the show.
Let's talk about
Why is anybody going?
because
I mean, I guess
he's
like
there.
it's like theatrical.
Sure.
And maybe it's like kind of funny. Like you and I, if we were out in LA, maybe we would go because it's funny. But like I don't want to sit there and talk to Jax. I also can't watch the show if Jax is going to comment on everything.
I also think it's an incredibly, incredibly stupid move to out the network about another show on the network when you are finally back on TV to sit there and go, it's all scripted. This whole show's scripted. There's no way Bravo is going to see that and be like, good call, dude. We're so glad you're back. But let's keep trucking. We get to Jesse and Michelle after this whole thing went down, and they're trying to figure out where it came from, what the story is. So they just call Janet. And Janet says, no, I never said any of those things. And I actually set boundaries with Dodie because of the whole Alex scenario. Because when they broke up, she started singing a very different tune. And her story had changed, I guess. So we're not getting the whole Alex backstory. Granted, the dude looks,
Like a troll under the bridge about to ask you to answer a riddle if you can cross.
Correct. That's a very good way to put it. But at the same time, we have not gotten the other side of the story. We're basing this all off of what Dodie's saying. So there's a lot of question marks there. She takes this step further and says Dodie had alluded to something at the end of the relationship, like she did something dumb. That she was the one at fault that led to them breaking up. Now, again, when you leave this door open, when you have a past, people are going to question that, especially when you put them in the crosshairs for no fucking reason other than you got backed into a corner and just had word vomit. But regardless, we get to Dodie and Luke, and they're in their new apartment, and why do they have to reference sex every time they're on the screen for the first time in an episode?
I don't like it.
She's like, we got a whole drawer of sex toys. It's like, cool.
Congratulations.
Keep it to yourself.
Yeah, I don't care. Make sure we've got a little bit more room here to play.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear
I
that.
don't need to hear it. Good for you guys. You know what I mean? Great. Good for you. No kink shaming here, but I just don't want to hear about it.
Nope.
But they're going over the night and recapping everything, and this is where we find out that in pre-production, I guess Zach had said something to Dodie, and we even get a clip of him with the cameras off. There's like one hidden camera there, which I also think is sketchy. Like there's just one camera in a tree pointed at this chair.
There should be one hidden camera everywhere.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But it's also weird if this is pre-production and they're like, all right, we got like this camera's here. Do we got the secret cameras up? And we get this little clip of him where he says, and it's not that convincing to me.
It's just, you're not wrong.
Right. He says, you're not wrong. And then it cuts off very fast. It's not like you're not wrong. It felt to me like it was more there and we didn't get the full
I don't know if there
answer.
was more. I feel like he was kind of done, but this is the same night. Like they were at Michelle's. They were wearing the same clothing, sitting on a chair outside of her house. I think this was after the fight. Honestly,
we need timelines.
They didn't show that, and that's part of the problem. Is they're trying to be a little ambiguous with it.
But I will say, Luke has a very good tip for Dodie at the end of this scene. He says, when you get these little nuggets, stick them in your back pocket. Just leave them there.
Yeah.
Stop weaponizing everything because this is what happens. And this is her MO from VPR day one until now. And that's where people are going to call into question, have you really changed? And when you bring up the major thing from your past, why you got fired from VPR, they're going to call into question all of your behaviors. Well, she's still doing this. She's still doing that. Now we need an answer for this.
Right.
So now we're really going to dig into it.
Dodie even said this was discussed at length before we even started filming the show.
Yes.
And she brought it back up when they started filming. So like you're just outing yourself for holding on to things and putting it into the show.
But we get a quick cut to, this is the scene I was talking about, Nia and Danny, and they're in the house and he's exhausted and she's going away for the night and he's just so nice, and she's so nice, and they work well together, and it's just a beautiful thing to see. That's why I love those two. So I am emotionally
That's
attached to
great.
them. I'm emotionally invested in those
I
two.
think that's really great. Does that do anything for the show? No.
But
Because like what there's nothing more to talk about from that scene. It's just like, oh wow, they're really cute. That's nice.
I need that
Boom.
because of the disaster everybody else is on this show.
I need it in the sense that pretty much what I brought up earlier. If somebody were to go after Nia or Danny and not in the way of pantsing him at a pool party, but actually being mean to them, we would defend them because we like them.
Yes,
That's really all I need it
I
for.
love them.
Other than that, I don't need to talk about it.
I do. It makes me happy.
Okay.
I like seeing
Keep
a
your
dad
happiness to
step
yourself,
up.
pal. This is Bravo. There's nothing to be happy about.
Let's get tumultuous. But we get to Jax's, and we find out probably the least surprising thing I've heard about his bar. He doesn't own any of it.
I'm not surprised that he's not invested in it, but I am surprised that he just openly told us that he doesn't own any of it.
I am too. Well, I think that he's trying to spin it like, I got over on these guys. I didn't have to pay a dime, and I got my own bar.
No, not at all. I really do think that he watched Tom and Tom do that, and I don't believe their marriages and relationships fell apart as soon as they opened a bar. I don't believe any of that.
There was
coming from Jax doesn't make any sense because I don't think he gives a shit. I think he saw that they were sinking tons of money into Shorts and Sandy's later and never were able to open it and don't know what the fuck they're doing. And Jax is probably even more inept than the two of them combined. So let me just take a step back because I don't want to just lose everything.
Wait, you're saying he made a smart business decision?
I think somebody advised him to make a smart business decision. One of
Interesting.
the partners probably did.
I think he didn't have the money to do it.
When did this is and again timelines. Was Jax's announced?
It's like right at the end of COVID, I thought.
Okay.
That's what I thought. This is why we need timelines and flowcharts.
Yeah, I know. I'm not sure though because he's still. It was announced at that point, but he's still interviewing people. So that's a long time. That's 3 years.
Yeah, but if you add in the fact that
Okay, they built
if
the
I'm
bar.
correct, if I'm right, and it was post-COVID, then you have to equate in like the COVID time. So the stall from that would push it for a while. 'Cause I for whatever reason, it's like in my head that he announced it when we were still wearing masks and stuff.
Okay.
I don't know why. I could be wrong.
In my head, I was thinking, and I have nothing to base this off of. I was thinking he decided to do this after he saw Schwartz and Sandy's fail,
That could also be true.
and he was like, you know what, I could do it better. And picked
Perhaps.
a better location, and then invested zero money into it, and had 3 other guys do all the work, but they get the name. It seems like a Jax move to me.
I want the business breakdown. I want
I know.
the business plan to see how
Think
this whole
Greg's
thing went.
involved.
I
Greg
was
jumped ship to
actually
Schwartz and Sandy's and went
surprised.
over.
No, probably. He's
Probably not.
probably so done with opening bars with Bravo talent that he was like, "Fuck that."
He probably moved to like a remote location in Alaska, just away from everybody.
I think he's
Spending
still,
that much time with Tom and Tom will do that to you.
Yeah, he's now living as a fisherman. He actually joined the Deadliest Catch. He's
There we
on the
go.
new season of Deadliest Catch. So check
works.
out Greg on that. Free
Shout
plug.
out Greg.
Shout out Greg. But we do get to see Jax in his hiring process, and I think it's a massive red flag for the 3 actual owners sitting there that your namesake is basing his decisions off of what they look like. Like the one girl walks in, he's like, she's not wearing a bra. It's like, you shouldn't say that if she's going to be your employee.
Yep.
The next girl walks in, he's like, oh, she's got the look, this and that. And if he wasn't Jax, I could see what he was saying, where it's like, yeah, she's tatted up,
For
she's
the
like a
second,
bartender.
well, yeah, it's real. I could tell like the way that she carried herself. Like, yeah, she's not going to put up with any bullshit at the bar.
Correct.
That's cool. But the first girl walking in and him immediately commenting in his confessional, "Oh, I saw that she wasn't wearing a bra." It's like, okay, and you could see his face light up when she walked in. You could see his face light up when the second one walked
He's also actively looking up at this like ceiling to like,
Yeah.
oh, I can't check him out. It's like, just be professional.
in.
Look
Be
at the
professional.
look in
Well,
the
he's
eye.
not professional. That's what we saw in the flashback, of course. But yeah, no, and then talking about it in the confessional, like it's gross, and he's obviously, to no one's surprise, a douchebag.
Yeah, shocker.
Yeah.
Shocker.
Shocker.
But we got a scene with Brittany and Dodie, and Dodie goes over the whole thing again. I didn't mean to snap. I felt like I was backed into a corner. But Zach said all of these things. And Brittany says, well, did this actually happen to this extent, or did it get exaggerated? And so they just call Zach to try to figure it out. And he does cop to the Republican thing and says, I did say the Republican thing, but I did not say anything about racist. But this is where I get a little bit wary of the whole thing. I think we're never going to have the full answer unless we have a full scene of what they actually discussed, because
Unless we have another secret camera when they're discussing this.
yeah,
That'd be cool.
we should, because the way that Zach's talking about it, he's like, I'm not saying nothing happened, but I told you this behind the scenes. We get another confession. I don't know if it was right then or later, where he's like, this is why I can't tell her anything. I told her to keep a secret, and this is what she does. She goes and tells everybody. And now in my brain, I'm like, well, if you're trying to keep this secret locked down tight, and now you're copping to, you did say the Republican thing after denying everything the night before. Now you're copping to one thing. Could you have insinuated something? Is there more here? Like, I need to know more.
I need to know, like, how is Jasmine involved? Because her name keeps getting thrown around, and every time that they throw her name around, she freaks the fuck out.
She was part of the line
chain,
of people.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, so so the first person was Janet,
and
Jasmine, Zach,
Dodie.
Okay, so that checks out. So that is the full whisper down the lane. I mean, the way that I could see that going, I think there is something to say for what Zach said. If you're a Republican in LA, that's immediately a death sentence for whatever sort of social structure you're in. And I believe that, because that's probably how LA works. I think that probably what happened was somebody started with, oh my God, can you believe that Michelle's a Republican? I learned the way that she's going to vote on this law. And then it gets to another person. And then it's like, oh, wow, she's a Republican. What else is she doing? LOL, whatever. I'm talking about texting now. You know, that's why I said LOL. I don't say that out loud. Let me put that on the record. And then it gets to the point, like, it just evolves to this aspect of what else is she hiding from us? Like, is she a closet racist too? And then it just blows out of proportion. And Kristen caught the tail end of that. And I think that they're trying to nip it in the bud and trying to keep it there because they don't want, obviously, like you call somebody a racist, like you have to fucking answer for it.
And it'll stick with them forever, like they say.
It sticks with the person that you're calling a racist.
Yes.
And maybe, I don't know if they're trying to protect themselves or they're trying to protect Michelle. I think it's a little bit of both, but they know what happens, Dodie, when you call somebody a racist. You get labeled as that for the rest of your life. And I think that's what they're trying to salvage at this point. And Dodie's like, this is great TV. I'm going to bring this up, and does not think about her past at all.
So you think...
So they're all scrambling to be... And Janet is more composed than Zach is. Zach, we've seen him cop to some of it.
5 different things.
He's yelling on the phone. He starts off on the phone fine, answers cool, even though they just got into a fight the night before. Now he's yelling on the phone. We've seen him yell a couple different times. He's in his confessional saying something else. So he's all over the place. I think what we're seeing, and we already kind of pegged Janet for being smart, intellectual. I think she's like, all right, we need to nip this shit in the bud, and we're going to stop and not let Dodie continue to talk about this, and we're going to go after her because she's the one who spilled the beans. But we're going to sit here and do this. And Zach is sort of like the loose cannon at this point, and he doesn't know what to do. And now it's all spilling out.
See, that's why I think, and like when he made that Republican comment in his confessional, that's exactly where my brain went. See, I could see how that conversation would ramp up, like you just laid out. Like, oh yeah, she's a Republican, and other people going like, oh, you know what that means? Yeah, and then it's slowly
just cracking unsavory jokes in there, and then somebody lets out the R word, then all of a sudden it's a fucking nightmare.
Right, and now they're going back and forth about random shit that may or may not be true, but that's where this whole thing, and you know, we're going to tread lightly with it. I'm not placing accusations, but you're under the impression that Dodie thought that this was like, oh, this is great TV. I'm going to drive this one home. Oh, so it was actually...
She admitted that she was saving it for the cameras.
So it was a miscalculated calculation.
Yes.
Interesting.
Yes.
I like that. I don't like that.
No. You like my theory.
I like your theory on it. Yeah. No. I think it's a terrible move. But anyway... Moving on from there, we get Jesse and Michelle, and they're in couples therapy. Couples coach.
Couples coaching.
Couples coaching.
What the fuck is with life coaches? LA. If you're from LA and you're listening, please tell us what the hell's going on with life coaches. Just get therapists.
Wait, you think that the guy says, oh, no, I'm a coach? I thought that was Jesse saying, no, he's our coach.
He's a life coach.
Oh, then I didn't see the little name thing.
Oh, he's 1,000% life coach.
Life coach?
It came in and popped up.
Okay, my bad. Yeah. My bad.
What the fuck, if you're from LA, please tell us, do you guys not use therapists?
They do.
You use life coaches?
No. Kyle had a life coach.
Yep.
But she called him a therapist in her confessional.
They all do that. They all say that he's a life coach and he's a friend and he's basically my therapist.
Maybe it's a softer way of saying therapist.
Their title is life coach. It is not a therapist in any way.
Maybe it
I don't know why you're trying to make excuses for this.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to now figure out what the difference could be. Maybe life coach means that like therapist is reserved for when you go see the therapist. Okay? So you have a 1 hour time slot, whatever, once a week. Maybe a life coach transcends that. Stop making faces. This is a good theory. The life coach you can contact at any point. So they're constantly there in
but
your
a life
life.
coach is there to be like, read a couple more books a day. Maybe be positive to people. Put out the energy that you want to receive
Oh,
back.
you're belittling life
That's-
coaches now.
Yes, absolutely. I'm belittling life coaches. Life coaches walk in and they're like, be a little more positive. Maybe if you just put the vibes out there, everything's going to be good. Hey, have you read this book? That's a life coach. A therapist is like, let's dig into your fucking
This guy
trauma.
did that.
No, why he did a better job than Kyle's life coach. I think was like one of her good friends. So that's a little different. That's just
Well, he's like
advice.
the LA life coach, apparently, or the Hollywood life coach.
What happened with this guy is Jesse and Michelle's friends had a rough marriage as well, and they took him from them because their marriage is getting better. And they're like, oh, you helped their marriage, maybe you can help our marriage. Have you tried couples therapy?
Okay, I
Let's
see what
get
you're
this
saying.
life coach from our friend.
I thought he was a couples therapist.
No. Back in Atlanta, we saw one of the couples get into an actual therapist, and I didn't like that we had cameras in there. And I said, you know what? I don't trust any therapist that's going to allow cameras in the room while we're going through
Oh,
something.
yeah.
And a
I
lot of people
remember
were
that.
like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We had therapists commenting on that saying, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. That's really bad.
We had
So now we just have
therapists-
life coaches.
That's a good point, actually. We did have therapists message us and say that they've watched Bravo for a very long time, and they can tell that a majority of these therapists are not reputable, which I
Yeah.
thought was very interesting.
Yeah, 1000%.
So it was God, Ralph.
Ralph, yeah.
Dev from the top rope.
Yeah, it was Ralph.
It was Ralph and Drew's therapist, and that guy's been on other shows too. And people have said he's kind of
He's
not
a dick,
good
and he
dude.
was siding with Ralph.
Yeah.
And there was cameras in there. Like, it's a therapy session. There shouldn't be cameras there. But anyway, I just don't understand it. And you've got a life coach coming in here just trying to walk you through this, but he's basically being a therapist.
He
and
is a
that's
therapist.
the problem.
Okay, now that we've talked about
He's
life
a therapist the
coaches,
same way that you're a therapist at like a workout, where people are just spilling the beans about their entire life and you just give them like one word answer.
don't belittle. I do not give.
I
them
am
one-word
not
answers.
belittling you
I do
working
not.
them out.
I do not give them one word answers. We have conversations if they're going through something.
Are you training their minds too?
Sure, you hey,
Mind, body, and soul?
hey, yeah, absolutely. Don't you belittle my
You have
profession.
no license to do that.
Absolutely not. But they spill their shit, and I've heard enough that, and I've also been through enough that I have, I can comment on some things. You are being a curmudgeon right now. This weather's really getting to you, pal. But now that we've,
No, I had a really good comeback and I'm not going to use it. You'd get so upset.
what is it?
You comment on a lot of things.
I'll take that. I'll wear that badge today. That's fair. But now that we've bitched about life coaches for 10 minutes, let's talk about what they talked about. And
Life coaches are going to be so mad at me.
yeah, I hope we have some life. If you are a life
Everybody's
coach,
mad. Who gives a shit?
I'm on your team, life coaches. Let Shooter know. But what they're discussing, and they're talking about their current state of their marriage, which we have seen 2 episodes, 2.5, I guess, at this point, watching this. And you can see the cracks in it, like left and right.
Yeah.
But what I'm seeing is a wife that's had enough, that is constantly in charge of taking care of their kid, that's not getting any help on the side, and a husband that does not give a fuck. And the way that he tries to discuss how their marriage should work, he's like, well, what if I do this for 2 months? I'm still not getting anything back. It's like, no. You make the change to better the whole situation. There's no timeline to it, and you're not trying to get something back. If you put it out there, it will be received and hopefully given back in return if you guys aren't too far gone. But instead, you have him, and this is why I thought he was calling the guy a coach, and it makes more sense what you're saying. But I thought he was saying this guy's more of a life coach because he looks at this like a competition, where he's like, I need to do better just so I can get what I want.
Yeah.
It's not let me do better so we can have a better marriage.
Yep.
And they start talking about sex and their sex life and everything. And again, he's like, she hasn't even looked at me, and we haven't had sex in 3 years, 8 months, and 3 days, like some like super
3 years,
specific
9
number.
months, yeah.
But why would you think that she's going to want to bang you if you're not even helping take care of the kid? Like, you are drinking champagne at noon.
Well, did you see he went on like a 5-day fast where he wasn't drinking?
Yeah, and I got my first
Why
compliment.
is that important?
When he said that,
I
he
lost
goes,
12 pounds in 5 days because I fasted and stopped drinking, and I lost 12 pounds, and you finally gave me a compliment. What?
yeah, what are you talking about?
Also, the thing is, like, I could tell that Michelle was a little uncomfortable too. And this is
Absolutely.
the whole thing. And this is what I do go back to with not really wanting to see this. Like, I think that this is information that should be kept private within a couple. This was 1,000% in my mind anyway, and I have no proof of this. This was Jesse's idea. Let's get the life coach over here. We'll get the cameras in
He
here.
wanted some vindication.
And we'll show. He wants some vindication. He wants to prove that he's right. He wants people to see that she's a monster and she doesn't want to have sex with me. But we've already seen that you're a dick.
Yes.
We've seen you not take care of your kids. We've seen so many bad traits from you, and we don't see a lot from Michelle because Michelle's not really speaking up a lot, and she does not want to be here. She's uncomfortable. She doesn't want to talk about it. Life coach asks, which a life coach probably shouldn't ask, when was the last time you guys were intimate? When was the last time you looked at him and you thought that he was attractive? Like, where is that from? And she doesn't want to answer. She's uncomfortable. She said 3 times she does not want to answer. You're not a therapist. She doesn't have to fucking answer you anyway.
I think he is.
He's not. Shut up about this. He's a fucking life coach. He's not a therapist.
Hold on, time out. Before you get mad at me, I'm not trying to. I'm saying, is he a licensed therapist? That's my
says
actual
life
question.
coach.
I understand that.
If he was a therapist, they would have to put therapist. Or his name would be Dr. Steven whatever.
I'm not trying to gaslight
not.
you.
No,
I'm
no,
trying
he's
to,
not.
like, I'm actually curious.
No, he's
Okay.
definitely not.
Okay. Jesus Christ.
Relax. But you could like with Michelle, it's just she does not want to answer and she doesn't want to be there and she doesn't want the cameras there and the cameras on that moment, a vulnerable moment in her life where she's trying to figure things out with her husband and her husband's just using it very clearly to vindicate himself.
Yeah.
And every answer that he comes up with, he answers for her half the time. And it's just so tough to watch. And I don't really want to watch that because we shouldn't really be able to have access to that.
No, and watching it transpire, I mean, you see where their pitfalls are and just the way that he responds to questions where they talk about sexual attraction. He goes, "What's sex again?" It's like, dude, she's clearly uncomfortable, as you said. Let's not knock her down again. Like, you're the fucking problem, buddy. It's quite clear.
Yeah.
So before we move on to the next scene, the last thing that he said that really just grinded my gear, I haven't my gear ground in a while. This one grinded my gear where he's like, if I'd been more of a passive husband and father and everything, and pretty much had I put in the effort, would it have made a difference? Yes, abso-fucking-lutely. If you'd given her support and helped out with the kid and not been drinking champagne at 12 o'clock in the afternoon every day, you would probably see some return in affection.
Yeah.
But whatever. He's a lost cause. But we move on from there. We get Jason and Janet, and they're setting up the nursery and everything. And Kristen posted a cryptic story. Which,
Of course she did.
Again, why? You put this out there. You did this. Don't add fuel to the fire because now you're definitely going to have to answer for it. And you should have to. Like, she should have to answer for what's going on. She's the one that brought it up. But they're trying to decipher what this thing means. And even Janet says, like, you threw all of us under the bus. You started this fucking fire, and now you're going to be an asshole on social media? That doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But we get the story from Janet's perspective. So this is one person removed from our down the line, so we're a little bit closer to the truth. Was it Janet first?
I believe it was Janet first.
Janet, Jasmine, Zach, Dodie.
Yes.
Okay, so Janet is the closest to what actually happened. Or I guess Michelle said, don't say that gay laws protect children, something along those lines, pointing to that she was leaning right, that she was a Republican, that she didn't agree with gay laws, and all of those different things. But Janet says, we talked about a bill. We just led to the conclusion that gay laws and being opposed to those laws meant that she was a Republican, which could infer racist. Again, somewhat cryptic. We don't really know. I'm under the guise now 100% of what you said, where one thing was said and it was probably not meant to be deep and people were saying stupid shit about Republicans back and forth, doot. Something went too far. They tried to squash it. Somebody found out. And now it's going to this
That makes the
level.
most sense to me. Yeah.
That makes the most sense. Again, we're not speculating. We don't know.
We are speculating.
That's a plausible theory.
Yeah, there we go.
But I'm
Theorizing.
not saying, yeah, we're theorizing. But we finally get to this this Hills party, or we're getting to the lead up to the
Capri.
Hills party, the Capri party, and Capri's son. And Michelle and Jesse are talking about this party, and this shows you once again where his head's at in this marriage. He's like, we just need to enjoy ourselves tonight. And she's like, yeah, it's our party. Or he says, we need to enjoy ourselves. It's my party. And she goes, well, it's our party. And he's like, well, not really, because, like, I love Capri, like, way more than you love Capri. And is it Capri or Capri? Because he calls it Capri.
I think he kept calling it Capri. Let's just call it Capri because he's probably talking like a douchebag.
Is that, like...
He's trying to be sophisticated.
Is that croissant? Is that the equivalent?
That's exactly what it is.
Okay,
actually.
so this idiot's being, quote-unquote, sophisticated, and his whole MO is that. He just wants to give off this air of, like, I'm high society.
Yep.
I'm sophisticated. I live behind the Chateau Marmont. And he definitely says it like
Why
that.
do you think he's having a party at a listing that he has that's not selling right now?
Because he wants to show it on
wants
TV.
to be able to afford that. Like
Yeah.
when he started talking about going to Capri and he's like, we go every year. It's my favorite place to go. 5-star restaurants, Michelin star restaurants. We're going to go over all the best hotels. And of course I want to be there because all the billionaires park their yachts there and I can sell them houses. That's not why you want to be there. Like, it would be a nice byproduct if you could sell them houses. You want to rub shoulders with them because you wish that you were them.
Yep.
We can tell because you talk about your fucking house. It's behind the chateau. You talk about this listing that you have. You act like it's your house during the party. You
He
say you
says
come
that.
into our house. That's not your house. It might be listed under your agency right now, but if Mauricio gets his hands on that, he's going to rip it away from you.
And he'll
he's
sell
gonna
it.
put it on Netflix and he'll sell it. And he'll probably do a lot of other things, but that's a Mauricio thing. This is just a quintessential douchebag
Yes.
who wishes that he was rich and famous and all this. And he's trying so goddamn hard. And it's one thing to be like a huge try hard and we can call it out right away and, we'll give you some time. But it's another thing to be a try hard and an absolute asshole. And that's what he is. And look, it's TV. It's kind of fun to root for his downfall at least. I don't want marriages to fall apart, but it's for his personal downfall, I will root for that.
Yeah, and I don't want marriages to fall apart either. We never root for that here, but what we do root for is Michelle to be in a better environment with support, and that doesn't seem to be happening in this marriage, and it doesn't seem like that's even on his radar. He doesn't seem to give a shit.
He doesn't care.
I think he's looking for a way out at this point. That's the vibe I get, because he wants to be...
That's a possibility.
he
I know
wants
you
to
said
be-
that last week, too.
Yeah, he wants to be single guy, like real estate mogul. He's probably... You know what he's doing? He's watching like Mauricio, he's watching his climb in the agency. He wants to be Mo. That's
a
what
good
I
point.
think.
Yeah.
That's the vibe I'm getting. But we get to the Capri, my bad. And it's at this $18.5 million house in the hills, this gorgeous spot. And everyone is just on eggshells because everybody knows what needs to be brought up. This conversation has to happen. And they're like, is Dodie going to come in here and have this conversation, or is she going to tread water and kind of walk around it, or is she going to get into it? To her credit where credit's due. When she walks in, she says her lows. She goes immediately up to Michelle and says, do you want to do this now? Michelle says, in a minute. So I think later when people are like, oh, you're bringing it up now, blah, blah, blah. It's like she did try to bring it up initially.
Not only did she try, but it looked like everybody saw her try. And of course, they're going to notice when Kristen shows up because she's the main focal point for what's going on right now. So you guys all watched her walk over and say something to Michelle and have a longer conversation, not just a, hey, thanks so much, and like points to the house or whatever like that. It seems like they're doing it. You can tell by body language. So even if you can't hear the content, you know what's going on. So to bring it up later and say, oh, of course you're going to bring it up now. No, she tried to bring it up earlier.
So-
and Michelle didn't, again, want to talk about it, which seems to be a recurring theme.
And I wonder if that is who she is, or I wonder
Maybe
if that's
she's just
where
quiet and reserved. That's
or maybe
fine,
that's
yeah.
where she is in life right now. Like, I don't know. I'm curious to
Probably
see.
also doesn't know what to do because, like, it doesn't seem like she's ever been called racist before. And how do you act around those?
Well, let's not forget, and I think this is a pretty important point. She is a first generation, half Persian, half Mexican.
Yeah.
So to label her as a racist, it's even more insulting because now you're implying that she's racist and she is a minority. So there's a lot of different layers to this whole thing. And I would imagine when Dodie walks up to her in the house, like, think about all the shit she's juggling right now. We just watched the life coach and her husband try to figure things out. He's not doing anything to help. And now she has to address that one of her quote unquote friends who's coming to her party has called her a racist to everybody else in the room.
Yeah.
Like, that's a lot to fucking deal with.
Super embarrassing, and nobody knows how to handle that.
No, so I think that her being like, I don't want to talk is
It's
kind
fair.
of understandable. But we get to the dinner scene, and this is where they are claiming like, oh, look at Dodie, just like laughing, having a good time. And look, Dodie needs to answer for everything. She needs to come up with an answer here that will be sufficient enough to address it. But at the same time, I will say she did try initially. She tried to talk to Michelle, so I don't want to fault her there. But I just wrote down it's convo time because Janet, she's had it. We need to address this shit now. And Janet just speaks out. She goes, I'm just disgusted by this whole thing. I'm disgusted that you would imply that I said this, that Zach said it, that anybody said this. It's such a serious implication. Why would you do this? Zach said it immediately, throws him under the bus. I don't know what to think when it comes to Zach. I really, truly don't, because then we go to another confessional with Zach, and it's still fucking confusing because he's still jumping around. Now he said 3 or 4 or 5 different things. But
He's got the helmet hair, too, which is always confusing.
he's got his helmet on, so he's trying. It's his thinking cap.
Every time it goes over. Yeah, there we go. Okay.
It's his thinking cap.
Not a lot of thinking going on there.
Yeah, he's got his thinking cap on, and Jasmine steps in because she keeps getting thrown into the mix, and she's saying, I have not had this conversation. And that's where we get the Janet, Jasmine, Zach, Dodie, Luke, down the line whole thing.
Receipts, timeline proof. Yep.
There you go. And Jasmine says what the conversation was from her knowledge, what she heard, was that Jasmine should be cautious because Michelle is a Republican, implying racism and homophobia.
And or
homophobia, my bad. The collective group, and this is the most important thing to note, I think, everybody at that table says, we know Michelle, she is not homophobic, she is not racist, this is ridiculous. So the best thing that Dodie could do here is figure out a way to say, look, this thing got blown out of proportion. No, you are not. You are not any of those things. She hasn't said that yet.
No.
She hasn't said, I know you're not. All she said is, I know what it's like to be called that, and I wouldn't want that for anybody. You need to flat out say, like, hey, maybe this was lost in translation. It was down the line. And because other people are saying that, this whole thing could have been lost in translation. People are okay to acknowledge that part. Just say you misheard. Say something. Stop implying that this could actually be true or that Zach is the one that said it. Zach's not going to cop to it.
Nope.
He may have said it. We don't know. He is not going to cop to it. Unless he has a confessional in 5 episodes, maybe he will. If you keep putting the camera on him, I have a feeling he'll start to say shit.
Yeah, he'll definitely start talking.
But for now, at the very least, like, point this away from Michelle because nobody buys that she's any of these things. But Dodie apologizes to the table and just says, look, I got cornered. And in this moment, I appreciate what Jesse's attempting to do because he's trying to stick up for Michelle. But I also think that that's not true. I think that he's trying to do this because it looks bad on him because he brings up, what does he say? It's fucking crazy to me. My family name, our business. No, dude, your wife is being dragged for being a potential racist. Fuck your business. Fuck your family name. It is your wife we're talking about here. You self-centered douche nozzle.
And when Michelle does try to start talking,
bro,
he stops her.
He puts his hand up in her face and says, please. I was blown away. I was like, I know this guy's a fucking asshole, but like, I can't imagine. If I was at that fucking table, I don't even know what I would do. I would be so shocked. Zach has a reaction. Everyone else is like awkwardly silent. Like, Jesus Christ, did he just literally shut her up with a hand motion?
Yep,
like, that's nuts. Like, we're not in 1950 anymore, guy. Like, what are we doing here? But Jesse's like, just call it a lie. Call it a lie. And then Luke jumps in and it gets escalated. And look, I like that Luke can stand on his own 2 feet. He needs to simmer down a little bit. He gets too amped up. You said it last week. Credit where credit's due. You said it last week. He gets too amped up too quickly.
I think he's learning, though, hopefully.
He's learning.
Here's the thing is that I hope Luke's doing, and look, I love that he's standing up for his girlfriend at the very least.
Sure.
And you can't talk to another woman that way. Like, you can't talk to your wife that way, first off, Jesse. You can't talk to someone else that way.
Stop telling people to stop telling women to shut the fuck up.
Stop telling women to shut the fuck up. Don't go after her. And I like that Luke did step in to at least defend her, and I appreciate that. I don't care to what level he takes it. It doesn't really matter. The fact that he did it is great in general. But he has to, in the back of his mind, be thinking like, all right, when we go home, I'm going to talk to Kristen and be like, stop fucking doing this.
Yeah.
Because, the first part, when he started getting pissed off at Jesse because she pinched his nipple, he pinched her nipple at the party, that's completely different. This is like, all right, Kristen, like, you did kind of bury yourself here, so we need to maybe be a little more careful moving forward.
Yep.
But standing up and doing this was very funny because he did escalate it, and Jesse wasn't expecting it. He even offered him to go outside.
Luke did.
Which is fucking sick.
I told you.
I know.
I told you he was here for it.
We need a good... When's the last time we had a good fight?
Well, I think that Bravo really tries to steer away from violence.
Sure.
There's legal implications, like...
I know, but like, you know...
A little scuffle amongst the boys, like, sure,
Love
fine.
to see it.
Would I argue? No.
It's more that I just want to see Jesse get
I need
humbled.
Jesse to get bitch slapped.
Yeah.
I need Luke to not even close fist. Just slap him like the bitch he is.
Yep.
Please. Because he deserves it. This dude, he's slamming the fucking table. He's escalating it to a point where you can be emphatic. You can be... quote unquote, in defense of your wife. It's no longer about your wife.
No.
Because now you're embarrassing your wife. You put your hand up in her face. This is about you now. You feel emasculated because Luke stood up. That's all that happened. So now you're trying to be tough. You slam the table. Shit gets fucking crazy.
He slams the table to overcorrect
Yes.
for stopping his wife.
Yes.
And saying, Michelle is talking now. What happened when Michelle was talking a couple minutes ago, bro?
Your hand was in her face.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch, dude, but that's where we get the confessional about being a Republican in LA is like a death sentence where you have to be a Republican on the DL. And this one specifically keeps sticking out to me because it's like, why do you feel the need to clarify that? Like, we get the implication. We know what you're trying to say. Now that makes me believe that there's more to the story, that you were involved more because now you have a comment on what being a Republican means. You're not saying it means racist. You're not saying it means homophobic. You're implying it means something bad in LA. So now I'm starting to think, all right, what was that conversation actually? How much do you
That's
actually
where I
know?
got the theory that it just escalated to the point that they were making those, maybe they were making jokes or remarks
Yeah.
or whatever, and they wanted to keep it in-house, is that Zach started there. Because that's where it starts.
Yes.
You find out she's a Republican, then you start talking about what else is she into, what else is going on, and then it gets to a much higher level, and you try to keep it in-house, and you can't. Zach is letting on, and I do fully agree. If we keep a camera in his face for the next 5 weeks, eventually he's going to tell us.
I think
what happened,
so.
because he's not going to be able to handle it. You just get him talking, especially in a confessional. Let him just keep talking and talking and talking. You'll get something out of him for sure. And that is when my suspicions arose. That's when I knew. Look, does Kristen need to bring it up? No, especially given her past. Fuck no. You don't bring it up in general because you don't want to say that someone else is a racist, especially if you have nothing to go off of.
Right.
You weren't even there, Kristen. You heard it from another person. She's holding on to information to bring it into the show to make the show a little bit better. She's doing the same thing Jax is. The 2 VPR alums are coming over here trying to produce the show. That's all they're doing.
Look, they learned from LVP.
They
She
did, and they're
produces
trying to
show.
play the game, but they're being clunky, and it makes no sense. Kristen should not be involved in this at all, given her past. The rest of them are just trying to keep it under wraps, and that's really all that's going on here. And then you get Jesse just popping off, and look, again, he's defending his wife in a sense, but
He's not. He's
defending
defending himself.
and just getting angry and whatever. We can
He's
see
embarrassing
through
his wife.
but we're not getting anywhere because we're not getting any information out of everyone.
Nope. But finally, and I was waiting for it. Everybody watching it that knows Dodie's past was waiting for it. It finally drops. Jesse says, "You were thrown off your show for being an actual racist." And it was silent.
Yeah, leave it to the biggest prick on the show to actually be the most logical.
Right. He pulls it out, and you were expecting it, and here it is. And she goes, "What did you just call me?" It's like, nope.
Nope, that's not what
That's
you
not
say.
the correct response because you are the one that made people talk about Michelle being a racist on TV. You have been in this spotlight before, and then for you to, after this, say, "I understand what it's like because I was canceled for it," then why the fuck would you do it to somebody else? And I know what you're saying. It's for TV. It was
No.
a clumsy move.
There is a very, very slight chance that Kristen saw an opportunity to
Push the narrative on somebody else.
not necessarily, maybe just like be the voice of reason for this and be like, oh, if Michelle, if this is going to come up, maybe I'll start it.
Oh, God.
So that her and I can talk about this together because I've already been canceled for being a racist.
Oh, God. I hope that's
so
not
we
it.
can talk about it.
I really hope
I know, but that is where my brain goes. And look, it's probably not true, but it's a very, very small chance that it's a possibility.
That would be ludicrous.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're completely wrong, but that would be an insane notion that would go well.
Yeah.
Oof.
Misery loves company.
I hope that's not what happened. God, I hope that's not what happened. But we end it with Dodie in a confessional talking about how she learned from her past mistakes. We get the headlines flashing overhead. And, she was fired because she claimed that Faith, who worked at worked at SUR, and she was on BPR, claimed that she stole her jacket with not a lot of info to go on. And then, we get that one clip or that one headline that says she understands unconscious bias and that she's learning and all of these different things. It is very difficult to believe that you have changed when you keep repeating past behaviors that got you in trouble to begin with.
Yeah.
And if you are going to go this route, which you already have, and now you need to address it, you better have a real answer. It cannot be, woe is me, I don't want to get canceled again. You brought this on yourself. You opened up this can of worms that you really haven't, she's answered in interviews and little things here and there. The whole crutch of getting you back on TV was getting over this whole thing. That's why you weren't on Vanderpump.
Yep.
That's why people weren't touching you until what happened? Scandival. And then they got that video of her going to talk to Ariana after everything happened. That was big news. People were able to look past her past a little bit. Now you're at the point where, no, you're on TV again. If you don't have a correct response to this, this could be the end of your stint on TV. It could be one and done, which nobody thought that was going to happen. You opened it up. So how are you going to respond to it? And will that response be enough? That's my big question mark. Because I don't know. I don't know how you
Probably
explain
not.
that away.
I don't know. Look, again, I think she's going to do it in a confessional. I think she's going to do it in a safe space where she can control how the conversation goes. There's no way that she does it in front of everybody else the way that everything's been going.
But I think that in order for it to land correctly, if it is possible to land this bird correctly, you need to do it in front of other people.
Probably.
You have to take the accountability of allowing them to question you.
I also think the reason why Jax and Brittany were so quiet during all of this is because they are pulling the strings. And they're like, look at them go.
You
Look at
think
them
that
go.
they're the puppeteers?
Well, we already know that Jax and Brittany had the discussion before Jax went out for boys' night and Brittany went over to Michelle's for girls' night.
Yeah.
They had the discussion of Alex is coming out. We'll see how that goes. And you're going to tell Kristen towards the end of that, Alex is coming out.
Right.
So we're going to drop that. We're going to get Kristen all riled up. Brittany probably told Jax what was going on.
And Brittany brought up the
Brittany
you're
brought
stirring
up
pot.
the
Okay.
you're stirring the pot too, knowing that Kristen was going to cop to it, and then it's going to throw everybody into a tizzy.
So now they're just watching their
Now they're
their
just
handiwork.
sitting back and watching their handiwork.
Interesting. That's actually valid. That is 100%.
I think that's what's happening because you could see on Jax's face. I was waiting for him to get involved because this seems like something that Jax would get involved in.
Right?
Why is Jax not speaking up at all? He didn't say a word that entire party. Neither did Brittany. They're just sitting there and watching. And his facial expressions, he was surprised. He even cracked a smile a couple different times. Like he is enjoying what he's watching. And it's his show at the end of the day.
Unfortunately, it is. But I have no clue what to expect next episode. I don't know what route they're going now because this has taken center stage and rightfully so. So I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know what the first scene next week looks like.
Yeah.
Are they still at this dinner? Are we? Apparently not, because to be continued
for
means
a
we
couple
jump
more days
around.
to find out what the ratings are looking like.
The first one was
First
like
one was incredible.
off
It
the
like
charts.
broke records.
Yeah, it was like the biggest premiere
Second
ever.
one dipped for sure, but this one is
This one will jump again.
it'll probably jump again.
I don't know, man.
We'll see.
We'll see it play out, but I'm sure we got plenty of questions, so let's dive in. Our resident question master, because my iPad is still under lock and key at the Philadelphia airport.
First question from Sarah B 184. Would you rather have a kid with Jesse or Sandoval?
Oh God. Neither. I can't. I don't know.
Yeah, no, neither.
I'm not gonna pick one because I hate them both. No.
Probably Sandoval because at least I feel like he could be. He probably wouldn't respect me.
No, he
But he
treats
might
you
be
like
a good
shit.
dad to the kid.
We see less aggression out of Sandoval,
Yeah.
I guess.
I
Would be
don't
don't
know.
know. That's
We don't have to
impossible.
answer that.
Stop asking impossible questions.
Kel Minton says, Zach's hair. What's your advice?
Get a haircut.
Yep.
He had a haircut.
A lot of questions about Zach's hair in here. Capricorn God. Capricorn God. Oh my God.
This is so nice for
Yeah.
me. It's not that
Capricorn
easy.
God.
Capricorn God.
Also talking about Zach's hair.
Maybe Capri was in your head.
I think probably.
Capri.
This is an interesting thought. Lorpo 1968.
You didn't ask Capricorn's question.
No, I just said that everybody was talking about Zach's hair.
Oh, my bad.
It's just more about Zach's hair. Keep up.
My bad.
Lorpo 1968 said, I think Janet is watching Kristen burn like Regina George. What do you think? You think Janet is actually pulling some strings?
Yeah.
They are. Zach. Janet and Jason are definitely the most intelligent on the show.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a possibility.
I
Maybe
could
she's pulling some
definitely-
strings back there.
I could definitely see her being like, all right, you fucked with me so many times. You know what? I'm going to burn you to the ground. Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah. All right. Cool. A little crossover here from Zen Jabilla. Was it Nia or Nia? What did we land
Nia.
on that?
It's
It's
Nia.
Nia? Okay. Was Nia ever Rachel/Raquel's pageant coach?
Oh, I don't know. We would have heard that. Unless it comes
I think
up
there
this
would
season.
be. Maybe it comes up this season. Raquel comes onto the valley.
Bro, could you imagine? Like, that's the big mid-season reveal is she's working with Nia as a pageant coach.
Yeah, that would be fun.
No way.
This is a funny one. Look, I mean, we don't really talk about politics ever, but since this was politics centric, Maeve Kanar asks, "What percentage of Bravo celebrities are secret Republicans?"
I don't know. And
Probably like 40% of them.
Yeah,
maybe high. Actually, I'm going to say higher. I'm going to say way
I
higher.
have no idea. I would imagine we don't shame left, right, up, down, whatever. Your political stance is your political stance. We don't get into that shit. As far as hiding it in the Bravo realm, I would imagine it's similar to LA.
Yeah.
Well, you see the response from people when they find out that so and so donated to a certain campaign.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, I would imagine that if they are, they're probably on the lowdown.
And we're going to do one more here from Danielle in Mass. Cover Vanderpump Villa on Hulu.
Guess what?
We've got 3 episodes coming out next week to cover Vanderpump Villa. So if that's what you want us to do, we're already ahead of it.
Yeah, we're way ahead of you. So I guess that's
We haven't recorded them, but we're way ahead of you mentally.
Well, we record them all tomorrow because I'm going to Italy, but we need content for our faithful,
Yep.
for our bros.
We got to keep you guys fed.
Yeah, keep them baby birds fed.
I'm saying baby birds.
You know what that's from?
What?
Daniel Tosh's stand-up.
Oh, okay.
Don't worry, I'll feed you baby birds.
Yeah, that's fair.
You're like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah, get it?
Yeah, I got it.
It's like the seagulls.
Because all of their mouths were open when
the
he made
seagulls
a joke.
from Nemo.
I know, yeah.
Mine. Australian.
That was pretty
They
good.
are Australian in finding mine.
Well, anyway, that's all I got. You got anything?
No. BravBros are out of here.